Breaking news: Wang Yiba stuns fans as he secretly serves in Korean military for 2 years. A hidden story. Explosive revelation that has rocked the entertainment world across Asia. Beloved Chinese superstar Wang Yiba has confirmed that he has secretly served 2 years in the South Korean military, living under a new name, stripped of fame, luxury, and his celebrity identity. This shockwave comes just as the singer-actor was expected to headline another international tour. Instead, he was serving side by side with ordinary soldiers in the rugged terrain of Gangwon province. The confession came during a surprise appearance on a Korean national broadcast, where Wang Yiba, dressed in full military uniform, stood before cameras in a serene pine forest. His cap shadowing his sharp eyes, a solemn calm etched across his face. The decision: from stage lights to military boots. 2 years ago, at the height of his fame, Wang Yiba seemed untouchable, a dominant force in dramas, music, endorsements, and fashion. But underneath the fame, Yiba reportedly felt the need to disconnect from the artificiality of stardom and reconnect with something raw, human, and real. "I was chasing lights, but I lost sight of the fire inside me," Wang revealed in a pre-recorded interview played during the broadcast. "I wanted silence, structure, and discipline. And most importantly, anonymity." But how did a Chinese national even gain entry into South Korea's elite conscription unit? A source close to the Korean Defense Ministry disclosed that Yiba was granted honorary enlistment under a special international exchange program kept strictly confidential due to his global profile. He trained under the alias Lee Yunbo, and not a single soldier in his unit knew he was the superstar Wang Yiba. Basic training: blood, sweat, and frozen ground. The winter of 2023 in Gangwon-do was one of the harshest in decades. The cold was punishing, dropping to -22 degrees Celsius, with fierce snowstorms blanketing the barracks. The trainees had to crawl through mud, climb frozen rock faces, and endure sleepless nights under tents covered in ice. For Wang, this was the awakening he craved. "I remember the night we did 12-hour snow watch shifts," he says, recalling the bitter wind slicing through his uniform. "I couldn't feel my fingers, but I felt more alive than I ever did on a red carpet." He struggled at first. Unused to such conditions, he suffered frostbite, bruised ribs, and one serious ankle sprain during obstacle training. But Wang never once revealed his identity, never asked for special treatment, and never complained. "Lee Yunbo never gave up," said Sergeant Kim Tae-ho, Wang's former platoon leader. "He carried others on his back during mountain drills. I didn't know who he was, but I knew he was a warrior. Brotherhood forged in silence." The army stripped away fame, and in its place, Yiba found brotherhood, raw, honest, and unbreakable. One moment that stood out was during a live-fire drill near the DMZ, where a soldier panicked and froze mid-exercise. Wang instinctively tackled him to safety just before live rounds started. His squad leader at the time said Yiba's actions were unlike anything we expected from a civilian recruit. Another highlight came during survival training deep in the Taebaek Mountains. The team was separated during a storm, and Yiba led 3 men down a treacherous ravine using only a compass and a hand-drawn map. They made it back 17 hours later, soaked, bloodied, but alive. None of the men knew the man leading them through the dark was the global icon whose face had graced billboards from Tokyo to Paris. A visit from someone special. In March 2024, an unexpected visitor arrived during family day at the base. Xiao Zhan, Yiba's longtime friend and rumored partner, flew in under a disguise to visit the anonymous soldier known only as Lee Yunbo. Fellow recruits watched as Xiao, also wearing military-style fatigues, embraced Yiba with silent intensity before disappearing without a word. It was the only moment of vulnerability Yiba allowed during his entire service. Later, an anonymous soldier wrote in his journal, "We still don't know who Lee Yunbo really is, but that day, when that visitor hugged him and they both cried quietly under the cherry blossom tree, I knew he was someone important to the world." Completion and return to the world. Wang Yiba completed his service in July 2025. His discharge ceremony was simple, private, and deeply emotional. As tradition dictated, He received his final salute from his commanding officer and walked out through the barracks gate, wearing the same standard boots, the same faded duffel, and a new fire in his eyes. Only days later did the military confirm the real identity of the mysterious recruit. Social media went into meltdown. Fans were shocked, angry, proud, and deeply moved. Thousands took to X, formerly Twitter, Weibo, and Instagram to express admiration. Wang Yibo didn't disappear. He became a hero. He didn't go on hiatus. He went to war with himself. Our idol walked away from everything just to find something real. A new man, a new purpose. Since his return, Yibo has remained low-key, refusing to appear at major events. But insiders say he's working on a documentary titled The Wind Between My Boots, chronicling his life inside the military, featuring footage captured by helmet cams, journals, and squad interviews. He is also reportedly in talks with the South Korean Ministry of Defense to become an honorary ambassador for soldier mental health and identity support, hoping to speak to the countless men who lose themselves in silence during and after service. "I found out who I am," he said in his final speech before leaving the base. Not the star, not the icon, just a man who chose to stand in line, carry weight, and be there for his brothers. I will never forget them. What's next for Yibo? While his agency has confirmed his return, there is no word yet on a comeback performance or drama. However, sources close to Yibo say he's preparing a short film based on a true mission during his service, a rescue op on the DMZ border, where a lost patrol was recovered due to a daring detour planned by Yibo himself. The film, tentatively titled North by Firelight, is said to be his directorial debut, starring unknown Korean and Chinese actors. Another sign he wishes to shift the spotlight from himself to untold stories. Fans react. At Yibo Soldier Heart. 2 years, and we didn't know. He endured pain, risked life, became a brother to strangers. My respect is beyond words. At Moonwalk in camo. He traded velvet suits for camouflage. That's not sacrifice, that's rebirth. At Xiaoibun Mates. So that's why Xiao Zhan was missing from the spotlight too. Real love. Real brotherhood. Real courage. Wang Yibo's story isn't just about fame or talent anymore. It's about choosing discipline over decadence, brotherhood over applause, and purpose over spotlight. This hidden chapter of his life might just be the most powerful performance he's ever given. Not on screen, not on stage, but in the mud, the cold, and the silence of duty. And now that the world knows, it may never see him the same way again. Wang Yibo's silent decision to leave everything behind, fame, fans, red carpets, and flashing cameras, began with a single phone call made in the dead of night. It was February 3, 2023. Yibo stood alone on the rooftop of a high-rise in Beijing, his breath visible in the crisp winter air. Below, the city buzzed with the nightlife of 1,000 stories, but he felt detached, weightless, hollow. He had just returned from a major film shoot, and yet, something inside him was breaking quietly. He reached for his phone and dialed a private contact he had met months earlier, a liaison officer from the Korean Ministry of Defense whom he had encountered during a charity collaboration. "I'm ready," he said. There was silence on the other end of the line. Then came the reply. "Once you step in, there's no turning back." Yibo didn't hesitate. "I need to disappear. I need to earn silence." 3 weeks later, he quietly arrived in Seoul with only 2 people aware of his plan. His agency CEO and Xiao Zhan, who reportedly hugged him tightly at the airport before whispering, "Find yourself. I'll be here when you come back." Disguised in a beanie, dark glasses, and a nondescript hoodie, Yibo boarded a military bus at dawn that would take him and 42 other recruits to Gangwon-do, one of Korea's coldest and most punishing military training grounds. No one knew who he was. He had been registered under the name Lee Yunbo, with a backstory carefully crafted to protect his identity. According to the paperwork, he was a half-Korean, half-Chinese drifter who volunteered for service under a foreign enlistment exchange. The bus ride was painfully quiet, interrupted only by the hum of tires on the icy road. Yibo kept his gaze fixed on the snowy horizon, watching the cityscape disappear into a blur of gray forest. His heart pounded beneath his thermal vest. What had he just done? At the training base, the moment the gates shut behind him, the transformation began. Gone was the superstar. Gone was the motorcycling heartthrob and K-pop icon. What remained was a man standing in a freezing uniform line as a drill sergeant barked in his face, demanding answers in Korean. Name. Lee Yunbo, sir. Speak louder. Lee Yunbo, sir. The next 48 hours were a blur of noise, tension, and humiliation. His hair was shaved without warning. His designer shoes were replaced with mud-stained boots 2 sizes too large. He was given a duffel bag containing 4 items: undergarments, toiletries, ration bars, and a handbook titled Honor Through Duty. On the 3rd day, the real test began: basic field induction. Recruits were taken to a remote valley deep in the mountains, where they were stripped of technology, comfort, and names. Iba would only be referred to by his service number, 1023 Lee. There, among strangers, he would sleep in snow pits, crawl through frozen trenches, and be woken up every 3 hours to pull guard duty. He wasn't exempted from anything. In fact, he was picked on more. The drill sergeant noticed how Lee Yunbo struggled with knots and rifle assembly. He couldn't speak fluent Korean at first, and he wasn't fast with the gear. On the 4th day, he was called out in front of the unit. "You're slow. You're soft. Are you even built for this?" the sergeant yelled. Iba stood silent. His face was flushed, not with shame but determination. That night he didn't sleep. He stayed up in the tent, practicing blind rifle disassembly until his fingers bled. He tied and untied survival knots until dawn cracked through the canvas walls. When dawn inspection came, he nailed every task. The transformation had begun. Still, the cold was merciless. During night watch in sub-zero temperatures, he learned to whisper songs to himself to stay awake, but not his own. He sang old Korean army hymns he memorized just days before. On one such night, around 2:15 a.m., a fellow recruit named Choi collapsed from exhaustion during trench duty. Without hesitation, Iba picked him up in a fireman carry and trudged through the snow to the medics. His breath ragged, boots crunching through knee-deep frost. Choi would later say, "I thought I was hallucinating. The man who carried me had the eyes of someone who's seen 2 lifetimes." The recruits began to notice 1023 Lee wasn't like the others. He didn't speak of his past, never boasted, and never broke the rules. When others sneaked ramen into their barracks, he quietly passed. When some dodged extra drills, he volunteered. One afternoon during close combat training, an officer demonstrated a move on him a little too hard, slamming him to the ground. Iba didn't wince. He stood up, brushed the dirt off, and said only one word: "Again." It earned him silent respect. But it wasn't just about toughness. Iba started helping others. He rewrote survival manuals in Chinese and shared them with fellow foreign recruits. He taught injured soldiers how to stretch their joints and recover their balance. He even organized a secret performance during rest week, a shadow play pantomime using only light, shadows, and mud masks. No one knew he was performing choreography he once danced at an international award show. They only knew it made them laugh for the first time in weeks. And still, through it all, he never broke character. Even when the base allowed a single phone call home after 30 days, he didn't call his agency, friends, or publicists. He called only one number, a private line. Xiaozhan answered. "It's me," Iba whispered. "How are you holding up? I've forgotten who I was. I think that's a good thing." There was silence. "I miss you," came the soft reply. The line went dead after 90 seconds, but it was enough. By the end of month 2, Lee Yunbo had become a myth in the unit, the man who never flinched, never spoke of the outside world, and always carried the weaker soldiers when they fell. And still no one suspected a thing. Until one day, a new recruit spotted a faded tattoo on his shoulder during shower duty. It matched a famous dance design Wang Yiba once posted on Instagram 3 years earlier. The recruit blinked. But when he looked again, it was gone under steam. Maybe it was just the fog playing tricks. The mystery of 1023 Li continued. The soldier who came from nowhere, asked for nothing and gave everything.